So we now come to our celebration of student work by awarding the President's Medals. Every year, schools of architecture all over the world are invited to nominate 2 student design projects for the Bronze Medal at RIBA Part 1, 2 projects for the Silver Medal at Part 2, and 1 nomination for the Dissertation Medal. And each year, international juries of distinguished architects and academics select the most outstanding design portfolios and dissertations from the work submitted. This year, the dissertation judging panel, chaired by Dr. Alexandra Stara, Associate Professor and Reader in the History and Theory of Architecture at Kingston University, included Peter Carl, Professor of Architecture, leader of the PhD in Architecture programme at London Metropolitan University, Gordana Fontana Giusti, Professor of Architecture and Director of the PhD programme at the University of Kent, and Florian Urban, Professor and Head of History of Architecture and Urban Studies at the Mackintosh School of Architecture, Glasgow School of Art. These judges read 42 dissertations over the summer and then gathered at the RIBA to discuss them and award the Dissertation Medal and commendations. I'd now like to invite back to the stage Ros Barr, RIBA President Education, and Stephen Hodder to award the commendations and medal in the dissertation category. And the first commendation in this category goes to the dissertation Exilic Landscapes, Synagogues and Jewish Architectural Identity in 1870s Britain. The dissertation considers how the architecture of synagogues in Britain in the 1870s contributed to the dramatisation of the Jewish worldview that took place within them. It focuses on 5 important cathedral synagogues during this decade. The seeming absence of a Jewish architectural canon is shown to belie consistently hybridised synagogues, reflecting the culture's embrace of an exilic reading of history. The resulting architecture provides a model of religious architecture which strongly resonates with contemporary ideas of identity and sacredness in a transitory, globalised world. The dissertation was supervised by Professor Murray Fraser at the Bartlett School of Architecture at UCL. Ladies and gentlemen, the first commendation in the dissertation category goes to Leon Fenster. Now, also in this category, the judges decided to award a high commendation to the dissertation Towards a Common Ground for Play, examining the history of play and playgrounds in Dublin's liberties. The central hypothesis of the dissertation is that there were numerous tangible benefits to the type of free street play that was prevalent throughout the post-war era in Dublin, and that these benefits can be applied or adapted to the present-day situation and improve the shrinking playground of Dublin. Focusing primarily on the liberties area of the Irish capital, the writer analysed historical play behaviours during the 1950s and 60s, as described by photographs, published oral history accounts, and interviews with local residents to seek clues on how to improve present-day problems emerging from the disappearance of free play, and work towards a common ground for play in Dublin. The dissertation, supervised by Miriam Fitzpatrick, was submitted by University College Dublin, and the author and winner of the high commendation is Ekaterina Tikhoniuk. And now the dissertation that wins this year's medal. Entitled Made Ground, A Spatial History of Sydney Park, as its name suggests, the dissertation focuses on Sydney Park in Sydney, Australia, as a case study with which to introduce the discipline of spatial history, a method of historical inquiry developed by the Australian geographer, historian, and architectural theorist Paul Carter. Each of Madeground's 6 essays discusses a series of practices, beliefs, and tools in the historical production of Australia's physical and social space. These, ultimately, illustrate the post-colonial capacity for interpreting texts and records of the past as a way of destabilising assumptions about Australia's places of the present, in which architects, planners, urban designers, and artists intervene. The dissertation was considered by the judges as a remarkably mature piece of work that revealed an excellent command of theory and criticism to establish a solid argument in a clear and thorough way. Supervised by Ross Anderson, the dissertation was submitted by the University of Sydney, and we are delighted that its author travelled across the world to be with us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this year's RIBA Dissertation Medal is Jasper Ludwig.
I've been asked to speak briefly, so first and foremost I'd like to thank the Royal Institute of British Architects both for this medal and for the opportunity to be a part of tonight's terrific event. Although this is a recognition of past efforts, it really motivates me and excites me to be able to keep contributing to a discourse and a discipline that's received global recognition. It's fantastic, personally. I'd like to take the occasion and this moment to thank my supervisor, Dr. Ross Anderson, at the University of Sydney, who supported me and trusted me to write about what I was most interested in. And in addition, I'd like to thank my parents, who've also travelled across the world to be here tonight. Without all your care and support, this would have remained entirely impossible. Thank you all for coming and making this such a special occasion.